If you ignore this warning, you are not getting isekai'd to anime girl land. You are heading straight to hell because of watching this video.
First of all, what the fuck game is this? Oh!
Welcome to Abydos, a city fully inhabited by high school girls who are immune to bullets, and every adult is either a robot, a dog, or a black suited man. If you have questions, so do I. Many questions. Why is there a school of 5 students? Are there other teachers in there? Are the students just on their own? What is happening in this universe? How does it function? How is it not turned into a frat party? This girl's so fine, she's an entire seminar. Our 20 concussion mech anime lover ass is sent to this world to be a teacher, otherwise known as the dude who hands over the control of the facility overlooking the whole academy city to a bunch of high schoolers. To be fair, they were overlooking the entire city beforehand. We all know putting a bunch of children on an island is a great idea. Meanwhile, we get left to do things like help beat that, beat up the Power Rangers, help flunkies, and sit in a corner of a room for 6 days watching children make a video game. Yeah. So join me on this journey of deep introspection, some of the best character writing I've seen in a gacha game, and me slowly losing my mind over things not making sense. What the hell is MAEK? Welcome to Blue Archive. Here's a fun fact that most Blue Archive players don't know. There are only 3 students who are 18 years old. A lot of this game is based on religion. Every religion. So when I found out that the tablet we use for our daily tasks is called Shittim, I shittimmed my pants. Shittim, I gotta stop saying it, is a location in the Holy Bible where a guy sent some spies to watch Israeli activity, but that's not the important part. It's a location where local women entice a bunch of men to have intercourse with them and worship Baal. The irony writes itself.
I don't care if you're wrong or not. What the fuck are you babbling about? You're speaking like an incoherent madman. You're gonna like come around with like 2 rocks in your hand. You're gonna be like swapping them around and telling me about a long foretold prophecy. What the fuck is wrong with you? You must play with the children. You must save the future, Lenny. Lenny, you need to understand. You need to raid this police station right now and hand over their armory to the children. You then must enter the government building and you must seize it.
So I am eager to get right into it. No, not the story, not the gameplay, but my phone. I love messaging systems in games, in gacha games even more, because it lets us learn more about the characters without having to read 20 documents with no fun storytelling standard. Oh boy, I can't wait to get to my teacherly duties of solving students' problems, directing them and showing a different perspective on life. Look at her. Isn't she adorable? She even formatted her messages almost like an email asking for help. Here I go. Well, I am never talking to her again. Hey, remember when I made the island allegory? What if the kids on the island made a working government with one very impartial individual at the top, only for the individual to disappear, leaving the entire Iceland prime real estate for gentrification? Welcome to Act 1. We are given the position of teacher and the owner of investigation club Shale. Member count? Us. Our job? Help schools, clubs and students with issues ranging from the end of the world to beach vacation. Showing our well-ordered priorities in an anarchical schoolgirl society, we decide to help the Abydos High School. Student body, 5 students. Now hold on a minute. I see the foreclosure task force in your club's names. Do you collect taxes? No. Their school is in massive debt and is about to be foreclosed. How? Borrowed money for disaster relief for their district from the disaster of sand. Quickly, it is eating everything. We must eat it back. To solve the school's problems, we partake in various activities such as stalking the tsundere, kidnapping, robbing banks, and unearthing corporate conspiracies. Not sugarcoating it. Oh, poor man just turned to dust. This chapter is very boring. It's like most gacha games at the start, where it fails to strike a balance between telling us about the universe and character story focus. As in, they tell us nothing about why and what is happening at all. Therefore, in a very familiar seeming universe to ours, things just stop making sense. You must be very sentimental about this place, because why didn't you just move? Why are you trying to take over a school in an abandoned place in town? Brother! Gravity Falls Gideon plot where he just breaks into the house. I sold the lease to your house, therefore it is now mine. No, Gideon, that's not how it works. Where are your parents? It wouldn't have been hard to tell us about school zoning districts and to let it settle in for a bit, but no. The plot says this thing just happens. Believe it! The act has a very simple single-thread story, and the characters aren't that interesting or fleshed out for now, but it foreshadows and sets up a lot of what's to come. The definite highlights of the chapter is its humor, and it is the debut of some of the most popular characters like Girl Failure with her 2 mental problems and normal, as well as Gehenna's babysitter squad. 5 out of 10, but we can only go up from here. Before that though, you'll need to interact with the This is glorified Princess Connect! Your squad of highly weaponized middle schoolers, high schoolers if you'd prefer, move and commit war crimes on their own. What you do have control over is the skills. Using skills cost collective MP. What they do range from big damage boom, healing, movement, lemonade stand, and much more.
Why are you running?
The skill variety was something I was genuinely not expecting. Top it all off with a damage chart. God, I love it when it's not a triangle. Environmental bonuses, the fact that you can't level your characters past your account level, plus an overabundance of upgrade materials, and what you get is a system that encourages you to try out as many strategies as you can. I know hitting auto on one team and just leveling until you beat the stage might seem appealing, but actually interacting with the skills, learning how to use them, their rotation and timing is quite satisfying. Even more so when you 3-star a stage with half of its recommended level. My favorite unit combinations currently are hitting inanimate objects, where the enemy doesn't shoot, go gadget mustard snipe, and infinite crit works. If only the auto battler, the skill. Why are you keeping behind? Oh, squishy characters! Please! Tank! Go tank! No, where else? There we go. She got 1 tick of healing. She only got 1 tick of healing. My favorite activity. Please. Ah! Damn it! And I wasted the card. No! What a bad position! What a bad position! Nozomi, what are you doing? No! Stop! Oh my god, no! God damn it! Skills take a little bit of time to cast, which is a thing to get used to. A lot of healers aren't target-based healers, and your units will shmove. Shmove past the tank and into the line of fire. Move out of the healing field before it's cast, use a passive skill on a wave that you wanted to heal over time on, and kill an enemy before an already selected skill hits them. As much as the game is your oyster, it is also out of control, and skill timing is a cruel mistress. And like in every other gacha game, leveling makes it harder to make mistakes. Around every 2 combat stages, a stage with a small movement puzzle will appear. Enemies with the yellow icon will move to an adjacent tile if a squad of yours is on it, and the green icon ones will beeline towards you. I like these quite a bit, as min-turning and getting rewards sometimes ends up needing a little bit of thinking. Beating these stages slowly unlocks the main story, meaning the story can take its time in non-combative scenarios, avoiding another pitfall of gacha game writing. Plus it allows me to go, I don't feel like doing combat today. It's a nice feeling. Oh god. Oh no. Like any good chapter, this one starts with the concussion. Classic club disbanding story. Millennium's game development department is in danger for making the impossible game.
What?
We need to meet 2 demands for the club not to bureaucratically implode. First, find an extra student. Second, impress Jeff Keighley at the Game Awards. To do so, the twins in the department set out to find the Gaming Bible. Thank you, Tyler Blevins. The artifact is in the heavily guarded ruins of their academy district. Wait, why would it be guarded? I was not ready for Nier Automata today. Like any responsible adult, seeing a childlike robot incapable of speaking normally or comprehending the world, we leave the 2 kids to take care of them and teach them about life through games. I am sure nothing wrong will come from this. With this setup, the chapter is really funny. Experiencing emotion that cannot be conveyed through words. She's gonna make an AI uprising because their game's so f***ing bad. Well, at least the first half of it. It suffers from the same problems Volume 1 does. It doesn't explain what's happening in a proper way. Like, we go steal a hacking device from the school's vault, and the people supposed to protect it saw us do it. We get no repercussions. Well, not none. Rather, they don't matter or exist in anything else than words. How is this girl the school's president? We get told that she's smart. That's it. She works with nobody, does nothing, and not even a single nameless NPC says anything good about her. We're once again left on the ice, continuously asking, what? Why are we still here? And why are we not saying anything and not taking the lead of the situation? How did she predict everything, even the bits caused by stupid actions? Every time a world detail is not fully explained to us or doesn't have time to settle in, it feels like it's pulled out of a world-building black hole, conveniently making the plot whatever the writers wanted. Not to mention the direction the story goes in is very obvious. This makes it really hard to care about what's happening in the volume. Characters also don't really help salvage it, but at least I had a lot of fun with the slice of life segments. 6 out of 10, still a little more entertaining than Volume 1. Let's talk endgame. Well, not endgame. The part where the game kicks you into whatever this is. What are commissions? I don't know. I have never gotten to do them. Bounties are the skill upgrade material grinding stages. And if you thought you upgraded a variety of units already, think again. Each of the 3 stages gives damage buffs based on the academies the units are from. Not to mention the Power Rangers. They each run away to the back of the wave if they don't die immediately. So you have to deal with them several times. They also use a skill of their own once in a while, which ranges from big damage, and big damage pierce. I legit don't know what the other 2 do. Because of this, the teams you use for this game mode end up having the same single target DPS or unit combo, no matter the bonuses. God forbid you let all the Power Rangers run to the end. At this point, you're not the protagonist anymore. At least they can be crowd controlled out of skills, so the strategies you can use are plentiful. Joint Firing Drill is an occasional event where the devs cook up some wacky mechanics that can range from heal the dummy to deal extra damage, or shoot as many times as possible. Rinse and repeat with up to 3 teams and you're done. I genuinely did not expect to go, hold on a minute, if the enemy takes 1 damage no matter the attack, I don't need a red team for the red weak enemy. Even levels stop mattering at that point. I can't stress enough how each of these rotating game modes force you to take a step back and rethink your team in a very enjoyable way. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Not the big one is for later. This gacha game has PvP. Not only a PvP game mode, but PvP elements in other game modes. And as always, people who hand over their wallets have an inherent advantage. I surprisingly don't care much. I do my 1 PvP fight for the daily quest and leave it be. Meanwhile, raids and bigger raids have a metric ton of mechanics, but also a ranking system. There isn't a competitive bone in my body, so just playing around till I figure out the strategies and teams is very fun. But with the nature of this being a gacha game, either before a raid or during it, a character that is very good for it might come around. So if you are high score or rank chasing, you'll be chasing forever. Even more so if you're not putting money into the game. Just tell yourself you don't need the extra 2 10-fold tickets and try to have as much fun as you can. The main reward in the end of all these game modes are currency. That can be spent to slowly grind up units you don't have or upgrade materials. In the end, all of this can be a little overwhelming. I could beat a couple more event stages if I cleared more normal stages for equipment upgrades, but the raid is also happening at the same time, so I should upgrade some units for that. But the upcoming event, and there's no point not to play the events instead of the stages, cause I'm grinding account XP anyways. The event rewards are so massive, it often feels like there's no point to focus on the main stages anymore, even if the main stages have unique targeted rewards that you need. Not to mention that this game has no chill. It is event after event, then a raid or something else at the same time. It is genuinely up to you to pick and choose what and when to do, so get used to somewhat missing out on a few days of events or coming into raids with an unprepared mediocre team. Your daily routine will probably end with lessons in the cafe, increasing relationship levels, which gives units another stat boost, and unlock the ninth circle of hell. But that's for later. God damn it. Am I really doing this? Like any good summer vacation, this one starts with a kidnapping. Trinity's local conspiracy theorist librarian steals some scriptures from the Sisterhood that she really shouldn't have. Now she's here. The resolution to the situation? Oh, for fuck's... We get sent to explore old Trinity Academy ruins on an exotic island that the Sisterhood could not make heads or tails of. By we, I mean Ui, the pessimistic antisocial librarian who thinks the Sisterhood kills people, instead of checking that their academy's leadership don't do bad. Hinata, her clumsy, optimistic friend from the Sisterhood, Koharu, the Justice Force's little zealot and overachiever, who immediately recognizes that girls in swimsuits exploring a ruin is a B-movie plot. That makes her suss out that the responsible one is Satan herself. Hanako. Sly, cunning, perverted, and continuously putting me in uncomfortable situations. Sorry to break the story analysis YouTuber retells the plot of the entire game segment, but I'll just get right into it. This event is all about coming out of your comfort zone, and memories. All of the solo character interactions fall into one of these themes. Koharu sticks with us while the gang splits up to explore the ruins. We keep running into each of the students one by one, while Koharu plays the role of the silent awkward child behind our back, getting more and more confident to interact with the rest of the group each time we run into them. Ui wants to work alone. Of course, Hanako pushes us to talk to Ui. We see our librarian acknowledge her reclusiveness and rough nature when talking to others. She desires for us to point out when she's rambling nonsense. Hinata chills and sends me on a trip of self-discovery. I get it now. Guys, I get it now. I get it now. This just solves the mystery because, like, for the longest time I liked the clumsy girl archetype. I can put together why now. It's because that's the only gimmick they have, and because of that they just seem like normal people. Meanwhile, Hanako is envious. She missed the last opportunity to have summer fun with her friends, so she's created this summer vacation here. She also relates to the reclusive nature of Ui and is actually putting in the effort to get everyone out of their shells, in her own perversely stated, sly ways. She just wants a fun summer. Oh my god, I get it now. She's actually a well-written character with a reasonable problem, and actually putting in the work with her intelligence and emotional maturity to try and solve it. The event is about many things. Being opposed to doing something and then slowly letting yourself loose, allowing yourself to find fun in things. Starting the slow journey of trying to change yourself to have good memories with the people around you, even if unconsciously, without realizing, you'll keep slipping up. Working to preserve the peaceful times of those around you, or putting in the effort to make fun memories happen. It's all about memories. Even the idea that some memories need to be forgotten forever. The training ground, ruin exploration adventure ends with finding a cave behind a waterfall. The cave is lined with coffins. We dig up an empty time capsule. Whatever was inside it, gone. Whether withered or taken. The ghosts of previous students on the island chasing us, as if not wanting us to find the truth. Now, lil ol me at the time didn't know the Trinity lore, the Justicia Council, Mimesis, and Sisterhood's rules, so I had zero context to figure out what was actually happening here. So I... at the time, I thought these past students killed each other as some part of training, and didn't hold it against their friends after death wanting to keep this secret. Memories to be forgotten. so long past with no resentment. I was absolutely struck with the writing pulling a morally grey exploration into the main theme of the event. We even chose to hide on a specified secret from the Sisterhood and almost slip up. It all reaffirmed my beliefs, but that wasn't the case. There was one line alluding to the boxes behind the waterfall hiding items that the students didn't want to be found. Zero elaboration on what's inside. The twist was the Justitia Council going, "We must close the training island because the girls keep frolicking in Swimsuits." The gang decides not to tell the Sisterhood about the empty memory capsule box they found on the island. Ui is now more determined to accommodate others into her life, and Hanako invites all the members of the club she's in to go to the pool, and normal daily life moves on. Happily as ever. The story is told in a very simple way, with a lot of vague foreshadowing of character development or motivations being right at the start. The thing that makes this better than a lot of gacha games is that these lines serve multiple purposes. Of course, foreshadowing, reintroducing the characters, and being hilarious. Out of every event I played, I can't name one that I consider was boringly bad. Each one does at least a good job at being funny, developing or giving characters some depth, introducing new characters, and reintroducing old ones so they can have their moments, and at least ending on a message. This event, however, because of my silly student homicidal misconception, stuck with me. I didn't even think my idea was wrong. Everything seemed to reaffirm the seriousness of the situation, not that we lie about leaving a map in the box. The leaving of the map in the box is a very cool symbolic way letting the items rest, representing precious memories that were made on the island by the students. It's a nice way to end things off, but it's a little disappointing revisiting this and seeing my understanding of how the event handled its themes was wrong. Thinking that the event did grade 10 level literature analysis of explore the bad aspects of the theme as well had me giddy when I finished the event. I left it starry-eyed, content. Even happy. If this is as good as the writing in this game gets, it's over for me. You got me. It doesn't really matter how salty about my misunderstanding I am, the next thing I'd read would probably be my favorite volume in the entire game. But now I have my favorite written character to pull.
Who the fuck are you?
This actually only took 30 pulls. I've heard horror stories about the gacha in this game, but unpunished baby! The closest I got was 100 pulls on Tracksuit Yuka. The rates are horrid. The hard pity is at 200, you will get spooked a lot. But there are a few things to offset this. Firstly, a variety of characters is cool. You'll probably find a use for most of them anyway. Second, this game is very generous when it comes to pull currency and tickets, as well as event rewards. Hell, they even dropped a rap song on April Fools and just gave a 10 pull for that. Just don't read the lyrics. And third, dupes turn to character-specific LF and just LF, which can be used to star up units. With the pure amount of pull currency you get and pulls you do, 5-starring a couple of units quite fast is easy. This is also where the gap between pay-to-win and free-to-play players becomes most apparent, since pay-to-win players won't be grinding the LF dumpsters, but the gap isn't even close to being detrimental outside of PvP content. Since everything gives you pull currency, this is unironically one of the most generous gacha games on the market right now. Thumbs up. This is the point where, without me misunderstanding an event, it would have been the perfect time to say, if your friends tell you the story of this game is good, they are right. Since from now on I'll be spoiling some world building and character arcs, so if you had any interest of playing this game mostly blind, sorry for this one, it's the time to start. I'll talk about the more controversial parts of this game spoiler-free in the Momotalks / side content chapter. Once you watch that, I'd recommend doing stages until you unlock volume 3 or 4, and starting from there, because they do a way better job of setting up the world, characters, and our self-insert protagonist, and are just a better show of what the writing team is now consistently capable of. As far as conclusions about the game go, you'd get to make your own. As for the rest of us, a koan, a paradoxical anecdote or riddle without a solution used in Zen Buddhism to demonstrate the inadequacy of logical reasoning. For it may not be the paradox or the reasoning that's important, but the conclusion each person comes up with. You know a chapter is going to be a good one when a singular image spoils it for you. But first, some world building. Trinity Academy wasn't Trinity for a while. The district was actually a few academies and factions that united as one. Most of them have some sort of descendant clubs or groups like the Sisterhood or the three big factions that each have a representative at the student council, known as the Tea Party. We already know that academies rule over districts. If the academy is bigger and more autonomous, they also upkeep the peace themselves. But who's to say someone from one district wouldn't go and cause trouble in another? In comes Gehenna. All you need to know is that their student council is called the Pandemonium Society. So you can guess what their school is all about. The ones upholding the peace in Gehenna are the Perfect Team. Hey, we met them in Volume 1. Their equivalent in Trinity is the Justice Task Force. So students from Gehenna, or occasionally Trinity, come to wreak havoc in each other's districts. The current system. The force of the district catches the perpetrator, records their crime and brings them to a bridge to be exchanged with the other academy. The problems? The academies grow to hate each other over many happenings. Students thinking that the punishments the other parties give are not enough. Bullying before sending them off to the other academy, sending someone off and lying about having a reason, but exploding a park to build the hot spring? What? So the General Student Council President has a brilliant idea. The Eden Treaty. A treaty between the two schools to establish an organization with representatives from both, specifically dealing with and deciding punishments for cross-district crime, thus both solving most of the issues and bringing the academies closer together, slowly ending their hatred of each other. But the General Student Council President disappears. Kyoto's falls into semi-anarchical chaos as the General Student Council tries to fill her impartial spot and deals with other problems. So in the meanwhile, the Eden Treaty is at a stalemate. Let's scope things down a bit. By this volume, it's pretty obvious that our protagonist isn't fully a self-insert. They don't fully understand Kyoto's politics, neither do we. Don't ask questions. Sensei wants the students to have a somewhat normal life without unfairness. If they have even a bit of a chance of being redeemed, he will do what he can. Sometimes politics take priority, students get exiled, sometimes rightfully. What can you do? But this want to make student lives better is what makes Trinity's request pique our interest. Flunkies! Students who failed exams and are about to be exiled out of Trinity. They have 3 weeks and 4 attempts to retake the exams. And we're here to help them. The 4 students are Hanako. I won't talk about her or her perverted face anymore, you get the picture. Of course Hanako scored 69 points. She intentionally scored 69 points. God damn it. Koharu, another familiar face. She wants to prove that she is a great Justice Task Force member, as well as genuinely amazing, so she took a test to skip grades, and failed all of her tests. Azusa, trauma child, militaristic, sleeps with a gun, analyzes her classmates' behaviors, and traps the places they would never go, continuously prepared for battle, and somewhat blind to the basics of life. And finally, Hifumi, absolutely normal. This universe is Hello Kitty equivalent Weeaboo. She is a little bit more mindful of what happens around her and the situations she's in, so she's the club president of the Makeup Work Club, where the students make up for the work they failed by studying, roasting each other, being weird, and failing. That means we get to go to boot camp, baby! Now that we're emotionally invested in all 4 of them, it's time to talk to Nagisa again. Of course. 3 of the students in the makeup club are suspected to be traitors, trying to sabotage the Eden Treaty. Unless we figure out who it is, they're all going to be kicked out. You might be wondering, why 3? It's because Hifumi knows this fact. Her job is exactly the same as ours. A simple schoolgirl placed upon a position of finding who the traitor is, or being expelled. And the 3 students who seem impossible to suspect, as we doubt if Nagisa is even right. What is the best part to grab Nagisa by to fling her around? We just slingshot her. And so, begins my favorite Blue Archive volume. Get ready to be taken for a mystery doozy. The mystery of who did what gets resolved quite quick, but the real mystery is not what happened and why. To even start figuring that out, we first have to parse how people perceive their own actions and the actions of others, and where that will lead them. We figure out that Nagisa is just insecure in her position of power, and she put one person in the club purely because she thinks the Justice Task Force wouldn't allow the Eden Treaty to go through. Her protagonist lacking an understanding of politics leaves us running back and forth between parties, second-guessing ourselves and characters' opinions. Going back to talking about one of my favorite characters, Hanako was quite tired of the games of power in Trinity, groups continuously trying to recruit her to their side because of her intelligence, when she wants nothing of the responsibility. So she Saul Goodman's her way out of it, by wearing a swimsuit to church, or wearing a swimsuit in the schoolyard. Or it's just a lot of exhibitionism, isn't it? This gets to the point where she realizes she doesn't enjoy her current life at all, and just like always, she doesn't voice her concerns. She just intentionally fails test after test to be kicked out. Now, she has people who make her life enjoyable enough to put in some effort, but with that, whether she likes it or not, the responsibility will come seeking her over and over again. Hanako is a smart character done right. She solves mysteries around the same time the player does. Because of that, some sections hit way harder and feel way more believable, like the times she struggles figuring out something that we as a player already know, or whenever she makes a plan off screen. It always feels justified and not smart because it's smart, masked by a bunch of hype, which isn't that bad either. A moment in this chapter that made me giddy with joy happens when Hanako tries taking control of the situation at Trinity, only to be denied by a random, nameless classmate. It makes sense. Someone who spent a while observing Hanako from the side and seeing her change over time would be familiar with her sly manipulative ways, and end up doubting her. This chapter has quite a few small moments like this, which exactly countered the issues I had with the previous chapters. This is also the point of the story where the writers woke up and decided that everything is canon. The main story had allusions to Momotalks that got paid off after, but now events and character stories happen canonically sometime in between chapters, whether you see them or don't. This surprisingly breathes a lot of believability and life into the story. I didn't know we had a close connection to Hina, but me. Why are we playing Rumor with Hina? I take back every compliment I said. Whatever she tried to achieve in becoming the head of the perfect team has already gone by, as she is left delegated to basically babysitting the school's childish criminals. She's tired of all of it, being in the position of power that she's in. Power is also a theme that keeps coming up in the game, but not to the extent it does in this chapter, from games of power to avoiding it to being scared for your safety because of it, to responsibilities put on you by others, to people's misunderstandings, beliefs, subjugation, and even power and abuse, and where it all leads. We all have made a multitude of mistakes in our lives, from accidents to our perspectives being outright wrong, to things just ending up in a way we could never expect, over and over and over again. In life, the only thing we can hope for is someone to accept us during and after all of them. Hoping for someone isn't the right words for Blue Archive. Rather being someone who can look another in the eyes and make their mistakes look trivial, as if every and each step is only the beginning of their life. Now I praised this game long enough, let's go back to beating its head with hammers. If you decide to ignore my advice of starting from Volume 3 or just start backtracking, you're gonna quickly realize Volumes 1 and 2 are quite boring. When I play them, I used what I can only describe as the epileptic dog technique. That means, being the right gentleman that I am, when I was getting a little bored I did some palate cleansers. By that I mean, enjoyed some of the side stories. Pandemonium Society Goes to Russia is funny as shit. Ferret bathing, mid. Then we have group stories. This is a very mixed bag. From some of the funniest shit I've ever read, I assumed it was you, to world building, to actually nothing. I've stated that the devs understand the importance of reintroducing characters, but that's for all content post Volume 3, so I can't really guarantee that the funniest joke for me would have hit the same if I had read it earlier than I did. At best, these stories can be funny, but barely introduce the characters. At worst, they can be downright anime tropey and boring. Which brings us to my worst nightmare, Momotalks. In other games, relationship stories are like, you raise my relationship level, let's meet up, here is my past and a bit of world building, it's over now, bye! The ratio of actual romantic plots to plots is 10 to 90. In Blue Archive it feels way more like 80 to 20. Let me put it this way, the white western man was not made to take such whiplash. You could be talking to a student for 10 minutes, answering some normal questions related to teenage life, and then, on the very last story, they go, oh, whoa, ooh, sensei, eating this ice cream on the curb with you makes my heart go doki doki for you. It's an actual car crash. I'll make a brave statement, I wouldn't even mind a romance story in Blue Archive if it was actually well written and not a 90-degree turn. Hanako is one of my favorite characters, but her base version of Momotalks don't feel like flying out of the car, they feel like getting hit and somehow ending up inside the vehicle. Several stories worth of one-off cringe-inducing gags with barely any hint of character, until the last story is like, normally, talking to you feels special, and I hope to do it more. Completely unprompted. Am I going insane? From all the Momotalks I've done, I've liked 2. The point being, you will not know most of these characters unless you've done events or stories. Hell, most of the group stories won't even help you choose, and the character design is very good. They nail character design fundamentals very well, but place a lot of characters together and try to make a choice of which you like. It gets tough, and inevitably, all of these stories and the live 2D sequences are made to be very obviously appealing to certain demographics, no matter the character's age.
Sorry, you don't understand. I must make her breasts gigantic, even though she's a 17-year-old. It doesn't matter if she's only 17. I was homeschooled, how do you know? For met a girl in high school, I must. I can't even think of it.
So it's no wonder a lot of people get filtered by the first chapter and these. You can try to get a break from the main story and step from boring story into boring story into boring story, or worse. It's no wonder most complaints about the game have nothing to do with the main plot. It's no wonder even some of the most die-hard Blue Archive fans just outright don't read the Momotalks. And it's no wonder most of what I said is a lie. Kinda. I wanna hate these. I really do, but god damn it. The designs may be kinda monotonous, but it works very well with the setting and the plot. I quite easily categorize the characters into characters I'm interested in and characters I'm not. And I'ma do the characters that I don't care about first, not realizing the scale of this operation. It got to the point where I wasn't cringing at the horribly out-of-place dialogue options anymore. I was simply sitting there like, oh boy, how will they put romance into this one? Oh whoa, Sensei, it's my first time in an internet cafe, and it's with you, and it's so important that it's with you, and it's my first time here, oh. Have you talked to women ever? So, I read, and I read, and I read. Until I just stopped. A broken clock is right twice a day, and I wasn't going to sift through hundreds of interactions just to get a few mediocre good stories. The real problem here is that most of the 1 and 2 star units are launch units, and their stories are often a bunch of disconnected themes, having almost no continuity and twisting into mediocre, uncomfortable romance. Once again, the newer the character, the genuinely better and long these character stories are. There are a few exceptions to both. For example, some Momotalks are absolute gold and are used to give characters more depth, continuing their character arcs. But still, as much as I wanna praise or hate this is a gacha game. Every character story is a shot in the dark, and this game is taking hundreds upon hundreds of shots. Inevitably, it will hit something you like, or worse, something that turns you on, and inversely, something that off-puts you. In the end, it's up to you whether you want to dredge through all of it to find what you enjoy, read only the ones that already interest you, or not touch this by principle, since I can't understate the fact that all of these have at least a tinge of unnecessary romance or fan service. Just the same as I can't understate how well done some of these are. But my god, Blue Archive fans are gonna call me a normie or a tourist for being discomforted by a solid of 90% of these, but consider this. You get cute and funny, I get to hold my head in my hands and cringe at anime tropes, while still enjoying the really good main story. Talking about the main story, ever been locked in a vault? Thinking about how everything you've done could have been foreseen by the forces that you're against, only to remember that the antagonist is a dumbass schoolgirl. We've touched upon cross-district crime in Volume 3, but a few questions remain, like what happens when someone from one district runs away to the opposite side of the city, not to mention expelled students being under basically no one's jurisdiction, and some academies being small/not very security focused. Here comes Valkyrie Police School, protecting the city under the General Student Council's jurisdiction. But that's not enough. I mean, come on, it's schoolgirls with guns in it. It's only a matter of time till someone makes a nuke. In comes SRT Academy, a militant spec-op school specifically built to deal with large-scale threats. No matter the academy, working directly under the General Student Council President. Oh no. Let's just say calling the General Student Council President impartial was an understatement. Politics in Kyoto's are complicated, and she somehow managed to avoid leaning in anyone's direction, leaving the SRT to basically be the perfect enactors of justice. With her gone, none of the SRT students want to work under anyone, but can't function alone. The General Student Council goes, I guess we're disbanding it, only to be raided by one of the squads of the SRT. Now they're really sick of their shit. So they say, fuck it, we're demolishing the school. The squad that did the raid mysteriously vanishes, leaving only the Rabbit Squad, a squad of young spry sprogs ready to protest against the demolishing of their school. That is where we come in, to help arrest the SRT students. Oh god, they absolutely despise us. And so begins the slice of life story Volume 1 wishes it could be, as the Rabbit Squad has the sickest camping vacation ever, which is ruined by us existing and trying to convince them that their dreams of their academy and the same daily life are now gone. Join Valkyrie, now! We try to gain their trust in various ways, like giving them food before it reaches the bin, offsetting the unemployed and armed economy. I guess it's time to beat up the homeless. Kind of off topic. You all know why a thriller is called a thriller, right? While experiencing it, you're supposed to feel a thrill, tension, excitement, fear at times. If the story is just us picking up, holy you know what's the worst outcomes are way worse off in all of this than anything this. I only say this because the writers have already mastered the art of setting up characters and making us attached to them by this point. The feelings that Volume 4 in its entirety made me feel are hard to describe. It is, in its basis, about ideals. Not the idea of justice or impartiality, rather ideals in contrast to daily life, desperately holding on to ideals, or just having the concept of them in your head, but having to do the work you always do, no matter what. From delusions of how the world is and should be, to giving it your all to make something happen, only to be punished, feeling that immoral action is the only way to achieve what you want. Ideals are a very small part of real, everyday life in retrospect. We live by some, and make occasional judgments because of them, but they are ever-changing as we grow as people. Minuscule in time. It's probably just me, but Volume 4 gives me this empty feeling inside. This feeling of, if the circumstances ended up a little different, everything could go wrong. The good would be shunned, the immoral would win, and most people would go back to their everyday lives as if anything barely happened. All ideals are but moments that we believe in as we grow. But even if they change, the consequences of our actions caused by them might ripple for our entire lifetime. And we'll have to live with them, either letting them go or continuing, believing that one day the life we want will come true. 8.5 out of 10. And now there's one last elephant in the room to address. I make it or break it for if you'll like this game. The world, or rather the ever-creeping lack thereof. Outside of the fact that this game's early execution of the treat your players as smart concept feels like it's done by a 14-year-old, that means they just don't tell us anything. This game seems to have a phobia of giving us any world details. For example, my misconception with the summer event. We get told that it was a Trinity Iceland, but with context clues we can figure out that that is basically wrong. Kind of. And if we were given even an inkling of what rules the Justitia Council adhered to, rather than playing around it, the event would have been self-explanatory. They wouldn't even be massive world-defining details, locking the writers in any sort of way. But it might as well be my fault for deciding to do an anniversary event that continues 2 previous events and has main story details in it, while I was reading Volume 1 and 2. But like, come on! How in a seemingly autonomous schoolgirl society that has existed so long to have ruins, do documents have an optional overlooking adult science here paper? Are there other adults overlooking clubs? If so, where are they? Has everyone who required these documents just went, oh boy, I sure hope these students don't have an adult overlooking them or I'm in legal trouble, haha! Again, how is she the Millennium School's president with seemingly no one currently supporting her? How does nobody receive any punishment for the trouble they cause ever, unless it's like city decimating stuff? Why does no one do anything about the goddamn ruin tech? If Aris is guarded, then how was she only found now? If what's inside has the power to destroy Kyotos, why guard it with so little? And why do nothing to the ones who broke the rules? Wouldn't this whole situation also be a larger than one academy scale situation? Why even let incompetent idealistic children interact with politics and military corporations? Actually, how do the students end up in some of the worst schools? Do we just drop our orphans here? What's even the point of having an autonomous academic city like this? Do students graduate? If so, what happens to the students that got expelled and roamed the streets? Does that mean after leadership change in Arius, a bunch of the students have graduated? Actually, what even is the outside world like to justify such self-defense measures and militarization? If the students graduate, how do cross-school generational feuds seriously exist? If they leave, why care and learn school history? Do they bring the racism from outside? How many of the students we see now will even become functioning members of society? Definitely not Makoto. Oh. The youngest student we have in Global is 11, and seemingly there has only been one single General Student Council president. So if we assume that she disappeared at age 18, she at most, in 7 years managed to place Kyotos into such a position that without her, it somewhat falls apart, with no process for anyone to take her position in case this happens. A lot of these are just questions we have about the universe, but for Volume 1 and 2, a lot of the happenings and solutions feel like they come from nowhere and make no sense in the set barely existent precedent. The world doesn't feel fleshed out in any sense, and it openly feels like a black hole for the writers to pull whatever they need out of and hide whatever they want us not to care about. Let me put this in better terms. You'll love this game if you love Danganronpa. A lot of character-driven game stories share the same fundamental flaw. I wish I could treat the universe as a mystery, but I just can't with Blue Archive. There might be a chapter or a narratively justified explanation for why the world is the way it is, but it's gonna be one that, when I think about it, falls apart. There are already a bunch of loose plot threads that go against each other, or nowhere. But in the end, I'd like to argue that this doesn't really matter, because the world, in most part, isn't the main focus of the story. Extremely well fleshed out characters and very unique stories are. The lack of a defined world or our protagonist's understanding is basically the only thing that allows the game to keep its tone shifting from anime humor and funny misunderstandings to complete seriousness. If we knew why the world has to be the way it is, a lot would probably come off as wrong. In the end, we nitpick games when we feel something is already not to our liking, or when it fails to suspend our disbelief. There are times where the plot slightly threw me off track or bored me. Those were the times I started considering the world more. Bro, at this rate, they're all high schoolers. It's like the question I had from the beginning. Why? Why did God allow Kyotos to even exist? Who thought of this? Why do we give high schoolers the allowance to have their 14-year-old megalomaniac moment where they go, you know, maybe... aren't that bad. And then they make a whole district around it. Like, who thought this was a good idea? What do we do about the rebellious students that buy weapons from the black market? I guess we give everybody weapons. Anarchy rules. I will leave my child in the city where all the gun crime is happening. That sounds like a great idea. Man, I've really sunken into nihilism. At the same time, Blue Archive is a game that subverts most flaws I'd expect from a gacha game story. One of the key ideas I had before playing this game is that gacha games having to continuously put out characters can't let characters have more than a tiny handful of traits and themes. That could not be more wrong here. The best way I can describe it, Blue Archive characters and stories are written in a yes-and sort of way, like improv, but instead of improv, it is highly calculated. It feels like the writers have a massive wall with every character on a post-it note, with each of their traits, outlooks, loose plot threads, ideologies, living conditions, affiliations, everything. And every story and event, they grab every character relating to a theme and push on with them. For example, giving us their outlooks on why they spend their time with the people they do. Having the lazy police officer meet the guy who likes unemployment. I mean, who comes up with this shit? I'd say around 60% of the characters feel like they're all well fleshed out. The rest are in a kinda one anime trait, non-existent trait launch bin. The writers try to kinda salvage them by making them portray the messages of events, but Every time when a story chapter or an event closes, the characters' lives just don't seem to end. Hanako, now finding a purpose to continue going on, chooses to put in the efforts to help people she finds in similar cases like hers. Toki, after years of being with one person, slowly is left to learn how to interact with others. I could keep spoiling tens upon tens of these characters, but the point is, the game keeps setting up loose plot threads for almost everyone, or finds interesting character details to explore in events and story chapters. It makes me say with confidence, for how little we know about Kyoto's, its inhabitants make the city feel more alive than a lot of other game stories ever do. In Chapter F, which I won't talk about here, 9 out of 10, there is a scene where the students that go with us get to say goodbye to the students that are staying. If we somehow lose, and whoever stays survives, you can absolutely see the dreadful existence, regrets, unsaid apologies, and possible determination the characters would have. Even the big enemy in the chapter feels like it's reduced to nothing under the weight of that moment. Ren's trust in Aoi taking care of things, even with all the trouble Aoi has caused. I think it's impossible for me to portray in this video how effective the character writing is. It's no wonder this game has so many fanworks and art, because all the characters just keep going. The game makes you continuously look at their lives with an unfathomable amount of possibilities of their stories continuing, whether you see them or don't. Not a handful of characters, but most. And of course they all look good. It's unfortunate that Volume 1 and 2 are quite the filters, and the non-intuitive and forceful gameplay can make someone not put the effort in at the start. If you want to convince someone to play Blue Archive, don't show him this. Hell, I doubt any review screaming "Kani" and every community meme over and over will entice him. Show them 30 minutes of cutscenes after the final fight of Chapter F. After all, if I knew what the story would become, no way I would have quit on launch. Blue Archive is about many things, but the key part of its message lies in part with the player. It is the idea of responsibility and adulthood, the concept of growing up, laughing at the trivialities of our mistakes and conflicts, interacting with others in passing, both learning from said interactions and teaching others. Let me put on the pretentious video essayist who believes that they relate to everyone head on. We all had times where we hate our circumstances. It's a suffocating feeling, as if the world is weighing on your shoulders. A phrase that has probably reached most of our minds at least once in life is this. To me, that phrase means I want to run away from the circumstances that currently surround me. I must admit, when the first emotional climax of the final chapter hit, I sat there in disbelief for a solid minute. In most cases, most of our problems, the fact that we're feeling the willingness to not exist at all is not our fault. In a way, the fault lies with the world, the people who made it that way, and the people around us. A multitude of human failures, shortcomings, misunderstandings, and misfitted outlooks that we didn't have the experience to parse at the time or do anything about. Most people in no way are bad actors, but it's up to us to put in the work, to find meaning in the small interactions, positive or negative, learn as much as we can, understand why people do the things they do, believe in what they believe in, and most importantly, introspect at our own actions as well. Dread is also only a small moment in time that can define a lot, but we all have unlimited chances moving forward. All we can do is to actually be the person that can see the problems of at least the people closest to us, help them, guide them, pass on our experiences to whatever extent they can understand, look them in the eyes and make their troubles feel like nothing. After all, no person should ever carry the entire weight of the world on their shoulders, especially not a child. Thanks for watching. If you want to support my content, consider becoming a member, tapping the gift button down below, or if you make content, commissioning me to edit for you.